There's our race committee that's been doing this regatta for about 30 years or more. And then I'm off the line by about a boat length or two. The flag is the pin end. You see the big bushy tree? See that big bushy tree? I'm right on the line right there. See the big tree? Yeah, I'm over right now. Less than a minute to go for the Perry Regatta number 3, Long Beach, California. One of the best race committees around. These guys have been running this regatta for 35 years. They don't really mess things up. They're on time. Now, they did mess up something. They forgot their flags. So they're actually, for the first time I've ever known, they're gonna use the 3-minute whistle signal, Appendix U. My question is does the I flag immediately go into effect after a general recall? This fleet is notorious for general recalls. We got Sean here, 9309. Most of the good sailors are down the line because it's a sprint to the left and a south wind. This is south-southeast. This is actually left of 180, left of south. And big line set. Big line set. You gotta have a line sight, guys. See the big bushy tree we talked about in my first video? The middle boat should have a line sight. Wow, they just got a start off in the Perry. That's incredible. We almost always have general recall for the first three. So it's just kind of strong wind. That held some people back. Some people didn't have a line sight. The pin was favored for sure. I mean, look at the angle of those starboard tackers. Holy moly. Before the race, you guys should have been reaching up and down the line. A square line means you would beam reach up and down the starting line. But in this case, you would have been close reaching on starboard down the line, and you would have been broad reaching more coming back from the pin towards the committee boat. That indicates the pin further upwind. All the good sailors are down there, and that's okay. It is a race to the left. I think, it's been blowing south all morning since 4 in the morning. That's why we're so choppy. I think it's going to be much choppier out there. But I'm not sure. We are close to the channel, and the channel gets very choppy because the current's rushing in there right now. Luckily, the current's not running now. But anyway, enough of that. Race 1, Perry Series number 3. Perry Series number 4 will be at San Diego Yacht Club beginning of April. Sean and Ben, 9309, looking darn good. The wind has died off like we thought. We talked about it's going to be probably 10, 11, 12 when we get out here. And then it's going to probably, I wasn't certain, but probably quickly die to 8. And that's where we're at right now. 8, puffs to 9, light spots to 7. So 7, 8, 9 knots right now. These guys look really good. They could have more windward sheet on, but their leech is inside the spreader tip by a tiny bit or lined up with it. I would probably close that off a little bit. And look at that. They just look awesome. I think they're doing quite well considering they started at the wrong end. It's okay, who knows? Maybe the right's gonna pay, man. Okay, this is Olympia Maribel. They went way left. They're actually right on ley line. And it does not look like the left was great. You would have found me right over here. Just going fast on starboard and right over here. But what I think happened, if I had a compass and I was sailing, what I think happened is the wind shifted to the right. So that's why we're coming out pretty even on the sides. These guys are light right now though compared to us. So Olympia outside the ley line has more wind. So here we go. First boat around. I really want you guys to watch the spinnaker sets of the top teams. Watch. That guy could have come back sooner. That was not a good set. Okay. Yeah, but make sure we're watching. Yeah, see how the second place boat jibed? Probably thinking that we've had a right wind shift from the south, southeast to south. This boat does look lifted. So that's why the left didn't pay very well, is because the wind shifted. And we're down to like 7 knots. This is called Inner Harbor, Long Beach. Outer Harbor would be outside that breakwater. One thing we talked about for this regatta was the skipper looking at the other boats and looking for the wind downwind, not the crew. Some of these crew out here are good enough to call the puffs and fly the kite, but we're not there yet. Okay, so we would look at where are their booms. It's not a good angle for me to do that here, but if you're sitting there as the skipper, you're looking at the boom angles of people, and you're looking at the pole angles, and you're looking for pressure. If you see people going fast to windward of you, you barely creep that way. If you see people maybe going to leeward fast, you'll creep that way a little, or soak that way a little. Okay, this is a pretty good lead. Race 1, first run. The gates are right here. If I look at them, it looks like I would be going to the left one here, just by looking at it. Port tack seems like everybody's on port tack coming in at a perpendicular angle to the gate, so the left one looks like it's further upwind right now. Now, as the leader exits, everybody else should watch the leader and pretend that's a starting line and ask yourself, which end would I start at if it was a starting line? You can tell by the angle. If this guy comes around headed on port tack, then you ran the left one. If he comes around lifted on port tack, then you go around the right one. Oh wow, he's making the mark. Sorry, thought he was gonna have to dive. So guaranteed we're rounding the left one. Yeah, it definitely, we would never start at that angle. We would never start at this end over here, no way. If that was a starting line, we would be starting on starboard, probably at that end if we could. So that's an easy decision. Here comes Anton, has passed 4 boats. He's now in 2, 4, 6. Great. You can see the main just has to be really firm. Again, I think he has more vang than Olympia. She just looks like the leech is flowing all the time. And so she could trim a touch tighter in the light spots, just pump the main in a little harder. You can tell his leech on his main is more closed. That's okay, she looks more powered up. Bottom of her main looks fuller. Their jibs look very similar. Anton's jib's a little tighter. Good idea, ladies. Just go step over there, sail for a while, and there's a boat trapping right there. Look at that. Boat trapping. That's incredible. Race 1, second windward mark. This race has taken about 15 minutes so far. Those are good spinnaker tips. See that? That's what we got to see, you guys. Sometimes in practice, people are looking at me. It's like, why are you emphasizing these shotgun sets with the sheet pre-cleated? It's because you can pre-cleat everything and just shove the pole out and hoist, and the thing should fill. You pre-cleat the guy, you pre-cleat the sheet, shotgun the pole out on the set, and the thing should fill. You just got to do it over and over again, especially on a big wave day. If you catch a puff and a wave right at the mark, you can gain 4 boat lengths on somebody in seconds. That was a pretty good one. Now, if your guy isn't pre-cleated, the skipper hoists and grabs the guy and pulls it 1 foot. And then the crew grabs the guy and then grabs the sheet. Wow, it got light. I mean, it is barely 8 knots. Still in C, winning. I'm not sure what place he got at Orange Ball, but I think he was top 4 or 5 or 6. Got the main out, he's holding the main. Yeah. Second is there. Third. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th for Anton. And 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 for Maribel, the Olympian Maribel, black and white kite over there. They did a good job by rolling that boat. They didn't go too low after the mark. They played their position really well. They didn't get to leeward of these 2 boats. Now Anton should pass these guys. He was extremely fast on the downwind. Okay, super cool. I'm really hoping that's Paige Tilson right there. There's Kevin and Holland who moved up into the top 20. So they stayed patient. I think it's going to take them a little while to transition from the 29er mode to this mode. But they look outstanding. Excellent. They need to pass 3 boats here. After race 1, if you didn't do well, you really need to look at your main twist and your jib twist And I'm going to tell you, line the leech of your jib up with the spreader tip. And then on the mainsail, look at the leech. Ease the main out. If the leech twists off too much, put a little vang on. It should twist out a little as the vang stretches, but you don't want the leech to open a punch. Okay, here's Loki and Zach on their spinnaker. Oh, there they go. Nice. These guys are still at 7-8 feet. They're out here putting their ego on the line. Let's watch Zach and Loki. So what's happening is the waves have gotten smaller, but as the bow goes down or the boat accelerates, you just ease the guy just a little. Pump the sheet a little. Then as the bow goes up and you slow down, you're squaring the pole as the wind dies. As you accelerate, the wind shifts forward. As you slow down, the wind shifts aft. So that was just too loose on the sheet. They caught a big wave, the wind shifted forward, and he needed to be easing the guy and pulling the sheet. You'll get in a rhythm of it, see? When you speed up, it luffs. You gotta be ready for it. And you don't wanna ease the guy much, but there's a real rhythm to it. Interesting enough, see all this trash? There is some current line right here. I'm wondering if the current is going against us on the left. And then on the right side of this current line, see how there's all this trash in the water? And you can actually see the water swirling here a little. I don't know if you can in the video. But just right on this edge, see where that milky water is, that white stuff? It's just swirling here just a little. There's trash in the water there. This is a current line. Not sure what's going on. It's doing something, I can tell you that. I'll check the current after the next ray. The shifts weren't that big. It was a righty going in, on that first upwind. And you know that too because everybody was on port tack almost the whole time downwind. I don't know if you noticed that, especially the first run. We were on port tack forever downwind. So that's an indicator of right wind shift after the course gets there. So race 1 here. They're relatively big kids. They're not small like some of our guys, 200 pounds. These guys are probably 240 or something. So they're getting, this race was a lot about changing modes. Their jib doesn't look spectacularly tight. Their main looks very solid. He's doing very little with the main. His rake is very far forward. So that's what you do out here, guys. You look at the boom heights of all these folks. And he's in his light air mode, that's for sure. He's in his powered up mode. Okay, if we're going to start a race on this line, I think I would start at the pin, so I would be finishing at this end. These guys are trapping here at 8 knots. Yeah, 8 knots. Look at the port tack angle going perpendicular to the line. I would be starting at that end, so we'd want to finish at this end. So like for instance, 8914 would look at this boat, see they're on a nice port tack angle, and tack. And tack and lay this end right here. See that? That's perfect. That's exactly the shortest distance to the finish, right where that boat is. 85. Yeah, so finishing at this end. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but you look at the finish line as a start line. Where would you start? And you finish at the other. Wow, this is good wind. This got to be 9 knots. And this is a pretty big skipper here with a little crew. And his jib does not look super tight. So he's lined up with the spreader tip at the most. And he's pulling his main hard. You can see the overbend wrinkles. Okay, so pretty cool stuff. Another thing is you're only trapping if you have a lane. If you've got a really tight lane, you have to go into hike mode. You lose a degree or 2 a point if you trap. So if you don't have a lane, you'll have to be in, it's right on that edge. If it was 2 knots windier, you'd be trapping the whole time. Okay. Lumpy and Maribel coming in here. Their jib looks outstanding. Their main's being eased out too much. They should hike harder. Just leave the main where it is and just hike. You gotta fight your sails. Good race, ladies. You're in the top 15. It's a good first race. Yes, this is Paige and Kristen having a good race. So we got 9319 also. Their jib looked too far out. So between races, we're going to look at our sails very carefully here. All it takes is a little inch or two adjustment here and there. Oh, there's Kevin. Ain't bad. Nice. Come out of your tacks lower, dude. Anyway, for race 2, it always looks windier out there. I don't know if it is. I'm going to check the current after the start. 30 seconds. You see how the pin lines up? Man, oh man. You got to have the bush above the pin. Yeah, see? You still didn't get a good line sight. If you line the pin up with that big bushy bush, you're actually behind the line. See how I'm behind the line here? The middle boats are just, see? I mean, how long have we all been sailing here, guys? Really bad. Really bad. I mean, those guys are 8 seconds, 9 seconds from the line. 822A, BCYC6. I mean, these are not good starts. Pin in favored again. Watch this. That guy from the middle of the line is going to cross everybody on this side. From the middle of the line, not from the pin. He's 15 seconds behind the guys at the pin. That is amazing we're getting these starts on. Barry is usually much more gnarly than this, but yeah, we can't start over here, guys. I mean, my God. Look at these races. We tried to get him set up on the jib. And he just pulled it in, but they were outside the spreader tip too much. They're still outside the spreader tip. So if you're outside the spreader tip, what you're going to notice is that the jib is going to be luffing at the top. The windward telltale at the top is going to be lifting, and the windward telltale at the bottom is not. And so that's less power. These are classic side force conditions. You have to keep a lot of side force on the boat to maintain the power you need to get through the top and just to maintain pointing. So these are started at the wrong end too. The only good news about this, everybody, is there's a lot of boats that are ducking each other, going a little slow. So anyway, we'll see how they come out. It's just so fun. And we're back up to 9 knots. Look at that guy's angle. I don't see a lefty coming in. Yeah, with Olympia, what we're working on, their jib's perfect. Right at the spreader tip. We're working on her keeping Maribel at the same height and her hiking. These boats don't like to be disrupted once you get them moving. If you watch the leaders, it is just steady eddy. There's the guy that won the first race. And just steady eddy. The boat doesn't rock, it doesn't do anything. And so what you do is you keep your crew at the same height generally in these conditions, and the skipper just leans on the hiking straps and the pucks. And as soon as the boat heels to leeward, you've got to be easing an inch or two. You cannot let the boat heel to leeward at all. You just play the main a tiny bit. She's just got to get stronger so she can pump her main into these light spots. Right now she's just pumping the main a little. That extra inch, and it just powers the boat up for that split second. Paige coming in here again, having another good race. This is kind of a new team, right? They've only done one regatta together. They have a really good program, really good boat, good practice schedule. Remember that about 11 of these teams that are now rounding the mark, they all just finished top 15 at the Orange Bowl, 140 boats, or I don't know, maybe they only had 78 boats. But they're top 11 of the 15. There's Olympia and Maribel coming in, airball on the left. So they did okay. You know, they struggled off the line at the wrong end, and they were back there with some of these guys. And 9306 is going to try to weasel their way through here and round in the top 15 again, 20. Let's see how they do. I don't know where they are. Oh, they're right there. God, how did I miss them? That was outstanding. Paige and Kristen rounding 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10. Olympia 13. Anton 16. Okay, so I don't think there was a shift on that beat. And the reason why I think that is all the leaders. If I was in this back pack, I would be doing what the leaders do. Unless I had people behind me messing me up, but I would just be going on starboard. See how the leaders went on starboard? I would just round the mark and go on starboard almost all the way to ley line. I probably would jibe early of ley line because because of the left, you know, the wind shifts that had port tack so favored downwind. Leader of race 2. I like to video the leaders a lot so you guys get to watch it. Watching just where the pole is, where their body is, how the boat's changing course. Full height. Where's the jib? Right now I can tell he's reaching a little, and then he's turning down on the waves and the jib gets really soft as he gets low. Then he comes up, the jib fills, catches the wave, turns, soaks down. Jib gets soft. Yep, there he goes, dead downwind. Crew hikes against it as he pumps the main. So as the skipper pumps the main, the crew hikes. This crew's actually pumping the sheet and the guy. The only problem with pumping the guy is as the boat surfs the wave, the apparent wind's gonna shift forward. So pumping the guy is, okay, so this guy's gonna jibe. He just pre-cleated his main. You can pre-cleat the jib on the other side too if you want. That guy did a roll, the boom pissed the water. Yeah, main's pre-cleated, guy back. He turns enough. He didn't get the jib to cross, I'm surprised. I would have go ahead and turned until the jib barely crossed. Starboard tack is harder than port tack. Port tack feels great. Starboard is really challenging. You got to assume the left gate is further upwind again. It looks like they might have changed them a little bit though. It looks, you know, I'm at a different angle, so I'm not sure. These guys are coming in on starboard this time, so we might have a little different wind angle. I think they're more even now. I think they might even go to the right one. I think they changed these. They moved that one up a little to square it up. So he's really low, jib in the middle, main out. Okay, this guy's going around the left one. They're not very far apart, so they're not a huge deal. Yeah, I think they're pretty even. If that was a starting line, I might even start at the other one. So I think that was a gain to the other guy. I think the other one is favored slightly, or they're even. Now, starboard tack is more parallel to the gates. This guy's more perpendicular to the gates. Definitely that one was further upwind. He's back in the race. That guy's a close second now instead of being 15 seconds behind. Here we go, Morgan Pickney here. Jib is tight. See how, man, he really has his jib tight. And his main is tight too. Look at how overbend wrinkles. He's pulling that main sheet hard. And part of that is that he's just so unbelievably good that he can trim tighter than other normal humans. Okay, man, this is a close race. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 for Olympia, maybe 15. So this is tough racing, everybody. Nice grounding. Nice. Could have been a little faster on the main. The leaders of race 2 coming up here. And the boat on the left is able to trap a little sooner than the boat on the right. I think they're just a little smaller. The thing that I'm noticing is that the windward telltales, when I was watching them coming up earlier, the windward telltale is really not moving at all unless, you know, they feel really good. But these boats are in press mode. They're on just on the wind at no higher. And it's mostly because of the chop. Once you lose your speed, you're kind of lost. This guy has the jib quite tight actually. And and he's just developed confidence in how the boat's supposed to feel when he's going well. And it's right on the wind, no hut. When they tack, they keep the main tight at the beginning. They let the stern go away from them. They kind of just let the tiller go away from them. They don't really do too much until the sails fill on the other side, and then they go straight and flatten it out. See, these folks can trap a little. They're a little smaller. The only time they weren't trapping is when they were losing their lane. So they went into hike mode. Like right now, I think she just went back into hike mode because they want to stay high with the mark right here. They're going to really try to just point right at the mark. If you trap, you go a little bit lower. Man, these are big waves over here. Doesn't seem like there's much current, that's for sure. When I checked it here, there was almost none. When I checked it at the pin, it was going away from the starting line a little bit. It was going away from me a little. Current's too complicated out here to really know anything. There we go. Let the stern go away from you, get the boat on the other tack, and then flatten it. Hoist. Oh, cool. Little windward set. Made a rebound. Going third. Skipper grabbed the guy and pulled it a little. Yep. He just keeps the tiller extension in his hand. He grabs the sheet at the guy and pulls it just in front of the boat. He just wants it right about there. If the crew's really good, the skipper doesn't need to pull it. If the crew's a little late, the skipper just gets a little pull on it. You do it, little jab down, and then you pump. Jab down, pump. There you go. You gotta jab down because as soon as the boat heels to leeward, it wants to head up. So as soon as the stern lifts, it wants to head up. So you gotta jab down against that and pump the main. You don't want to jab too hard or too far. Okay, here's Anton's moved up. Cool. There's Kevin and Holland have moved up. So our problem is, I don't think they feel slow downwind. But in the light spots, their tack and clue are not even. See how much higher the tack is? The red corner's way higher than the green one. It evens out a little. So they would need to lower their pole just to fry. That's really fast when there's wind. But when we're surfing here, we have a mode of, you know, if we're not surfing, we get going slow. We don't, you know, we get light wind, this thing hangs. So there we go. I think Paige needs to sit forward. Well, they both need to sit forward. If you sit too far back, you drag the stern and you rake the mast back a little, believe it or not. All you have to do is sink the stern an inch or two, and the mast will move back 4 or 5 inches at the top, 3.5 inches. So you sit forward to keep the mast more straight up and down and even forward. Now the skipper looks around and their mainsail looks good. I think their pole could come back a little. Yeah, see how it's getting, the mainsail's blocking it. There we go. Gotta get it more wing on wing in this much wind. Leader of race 2. It would be interesting to see if their jib is luffing at the top first or if it's breaking evenly. But no one other than Morgan Pickney really seems to pull the jib that hard. So nobody's really inside the spreader tip. And the crew is really moving a lot. And the skipper is just trying to keep the boat moving. The only time you're gaining height is if you do get a flat spot. There's not much flat spots out here. Okay, you got 2 boats here that are trying to hold their lane, so that's why they're not hiking as hard. They're staying right on the wind, and they're not trapping. When you're trying to hold a lane, you got to be out of trap mode. That's a big team. 1686 is one of the bigger teams out here. And again, smart boat here, finishing at this end. This is the downwind end of the starting line. If you you were gonna start right now, you'd definitely start on port tack at that end if you could. We got one team coming out from the left, trapping a little, but you'll see they'll go a fraction lower than the boat ahead. Big team right here, just in full foot mode to get to the finish. Here's Tommy. You can see these guys are really close. These guys are 230 together. I mean, what am I saying? They're 300 together. Now Morgan's gonna beat him to the finish line. Watch, they're gonna call 5-4-1. Yeah, exactly. 5-4-9 is gonna get second.
5313-5409.
So you see that?
1686.
You see the big bushy tree? Look how far below the line you are. That is a mile. The line sight is off of the big bushy tree. Let's just sit here for a second. So you're sighting the orange flags. You see I'm off the big bushy tree. Safe line sight would be the left edge of the big bushy tree. So I'm safe down there. Anyway, gotta do these guys. You gotta be way below the line, and I'm on the right edge of the bushy tree. Okay, so look how far back these folks are. It's not too bad at 1 minute, and this looks like people are a little closer. Coaches have probably gotten into their kids' head, but you can't be back way back there. You gotta be. Look at this. I'm shocked that half this fleet does not know how to start with line sight. I mean, how much of this gets from high school sailing? Geez, they're practicing 3 days a week and sailing regattas, and they can roll tack. Look at that, 303, the guy in the middle, he's doing it. He's pushed it a little hard. An 8814 would be perfect, just ramp up speed. But no, look, 3313, he's a lot. Like it evens out as we go up the course a little. Like, this is the windiest part of the day. I mean, this is 11 knots here, maybe 10. Okay, much better start. Maybe the coaches got in the kids' ear, or they had to push the line harder. Something changed. Paige and Kristen, Kevin and Holland. So Paige went ahead and decided to start up the line. Their jib looks awesome. Holland's a little higher now. I think I wanted to get to Holland and tell him, keep yourself a little higher and make kind of hike instead of bending your knees in and out and having to crouch. And also, don't lean back, you guys. Only lean back when the skipper starts to hike. Once the skipper starts to hike, you can lean back a little bit. In light air, you got to be it's not easy to do. You got to be absolutely straight in and out. I think they could go a lot tighter on that jib. I don't know what just happened. I think all these guys could go an inch tighter. These guys just went through some bad air from that big cruising boat, and none of them were ready for it. Get all out of control. So for our team now, it's windy enough to be trapping pretty much all the time. And you got to play the main quite a bit. As soon as it heels, you're easing, and then you're pumping it in, and the skipper's hiking more. So now that you have more power and you're slightly overpowered, you can get a little more physical. Race 3, that's the first leeward mark. Here's the leaders. If it was lighter wind, these teams would be playing the jib a bunch through this job. But since it's a little stronger, they're not trapping, so the winds drop back off. They're kind of in point mode, I think, just trying to make sure they don't have to put off too much, but they're kind of in hike mode. And the jib isn't changing much. They're getting where they keep adjusting the jib till they find their spot that they really like, and then they leave it. And they might wait a little, but it's not very much. And then on the main, they're just trying to keep the mast straight up and down. So they're easing quickly an inch or two as soon as the boat heels at all. They ease, the crew hikes, they trim back in. There's the, so I think that guy's first. That's Morgan out there. I think this is Reed second. Foot of the jib is pretty far in on the deck. I don't know if you can see that, but you know, we get marks on the deck, and when we get comfortable with that, that's what we read most of the time, once we find the spot that we feel good about. This jib is breaking evenly. The bottom and the top are both breaking evenly. His main is solid. You see, he doesn't let it out very much at all. It's solid with the vang solid right there. He's actually got his leech stalled on his main. Yeah, he's 2 inches. See that? He just has a little flow. Cool. It's harder to film the boats in the back because I can't get as close. That's why you don't see me. I'm always having to weigh, making sure I'm not getting in people's way here. That's Kevin 9307. It looks like they're trapping. No, they're hiking. Yeah, so we know it's lighter. As we're approaching the leeward mark, we look at the leaders, and if they're not trapping, we know it's lighter. So that means we got to go back into mellow mode. We cannot be jumping all over the place. Once it gets windier, we can get more physical, but these things are not, you don't want to jostle them all over the place. So Kevin and those guys look like they're doing actually quite well. You know, 20th or so. Guys in the sleep, that's quite well. Anton and Wyatt in trap mode. That's what you really want to do, like this. You know, they might pay for doing trap mode almost all the time, but when you get good at the trapping mode, you can do it even when it's on the bottom end, if you practice it enough. You don't lose as much height when you're really good at it. So if I was them, getting through the chop for me would be easier, not feeling the windward and having to pull the main so hard to keep it quiet. Guys had a little trouble with their spinnaker on the run. I'm not sure, they'll have to tell me what it was, but I actually think they've overtaken about 8 or 10 boats. Their jib is really flat on the bottom. It looks like they've pulled the leeward sheet a little too far for this much chop. It's probably windward sheet harder, but let's just, that's way inside the deck. You don't want to do a straight line from the tack. Yeah, maybe more windward. Wow. More main sheet. So their traveler needs to go. See how much twist they have up there? They need to get their traveler tighter. Okay, these guys are gonna improve a bunch. You've got to have windward sheet on. You see how far out the corner of your jib is? It's out to the shroud almost. But you've passed a lot of boats, you guys. So good job. Of race 3, just jibed, second place here. Guide back, turn the boat so the jib crosses. That gets the spinnaker to fill on the other side. If you keep the boat dead downwind, the spinnaker hides behind the main. If you go to a broad reach for a second, it will catch the wind from the side and blow the sail out. So you don't want to understeer when you're underpowered. You only understeer when you're overpowered. There, he turns. The jib crosses, that means he's on a broad reach now. See how it filled? There we go. Oh, port tack, this wind's great. See the crew, yeah, look at that. One pump of the main, the crew hikes as they pump. I gotta go. She had the kite in the right place. And there she goes. She's right here. Make sure she gets to their left side, which she is. Oh, that's a great lane. Here's Anton and Wyatt right here. So they're all in about 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, and 11. Great job. Anything in the top 10. There will only be 1, 2, or 3 boats. I think they get a top 10 every single race in this regatta. We'll see. I think that Olympia and Maribel are doing quite well downwind. She's being plenty aggressive on the main. That's great. They've learned so much about that. Look at that. Yeah. Look at that. That was a massive ride. Oh, look at Anton. Wave. This looks really good. See how she doesn't let the main out? And she could hike harder right now, just a little harder. Look at that. The crew doesn't go up and down in these conditions. We're still in displacement side force conditions, so we don't want to, oh, there's Anton away. We don't want to be wailing on the boat all over the place, but they could. They're speed testing. They need to work on sailing a little flatter. And their jib looks like it's breaking evenly, so that's beautiful. Their jib is just perfect. If you go an inch too loose on the jib, the leech goes out 3 inches in the top of the jib bluffs and you lose power. That's the heavy air setting, not the medium air setting. Great job. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That out. I caught a fishing line. My prop. Well, that was about a 25-minute project to cut that line off my prop. High flag start for race 4. Look how beautiful that is. Again, remind yourself this is the best sailors in Southern California and many of the best, top 20 in the country. 11 of the top 20 at the very least are here. And most of those teams that are that good are 16, 17-year-olds. There's very few teams that boat sailors are under 16 in this fleet. Very few. Maybe 10 boats, 12 boats out here out of 46 that have boat sailors under 16. Maybe 15 in this one. I've seen a few younger. Anyway, beautiful. Yes, he sails with his main flat, even on a choppy day. A lot of that is just experience. You can see how far out the jib is compared to a mainsail. See how the jib is at like 13 degrees off center line, and the main is like 6 degrees off center line, or 5. So it's a big difference in the angle that the two sails are at. And you'll see his leech goes out and back in. I'm not looking at this first boat, I'm looking at the far guy. Anytime the boat heels, you'll see leech goes twist, more twist, back in. And he's kind of pumping the main a little bit. And he's trying to make it so that he has power. I wouldn't say the left was dominant or even favored every time, but the left was less risky, for sure. And then there's Anton, left middle. So that's probably the best way to go, to make it so that if you get tacked on, you have somewhere to go. A left middle-ish, left middle-ish kind of setup would have worked well most of today. So you notice the windward mark now is much closer. Everybody's getting better as they get coached up, and as they kind of get into a groove, everybody gets closer and closer. Ben and Sean. They're looking good. Pole right there, no further forward in this much wind. His main is luffing, so if your main is luffing, you're probably going too high. Yeah, main, and it's hard to see the main luffing when you're sitting on the boat. It's easy from here. It's not hard to see. See, it's soft. The front of his main is what we call soft, so he should be going lower. He's going too high. But overall, that looks really good. I mean, he could be beating 20 boats easily here. Here's Zach and Loki. His main's a little tighter, and he's also reaching a little too much. When you got this much pressure, okay, good. He should be going below the marks in this pressure, like the leader is over there. There's a blue and yellow spinnaker. See how they're low of the mark right now? It's because they're in a puff. You want to be going low of the right gate by a fraction right now, not reaching high. I mean, you could say we overstood, but again, you see how much the main luffs there? Got to keep it in here. Yeah, leave it in. As you're surfing, you got to leave it in for a little bit. Whoa, too high. Yeah, in this much wind, we should be going lower. Yeah, if the crew's having to hike out that far like that, going too high. Too much pressure. But that's all right, we're cruising. Okay, now we're sailing low enough. I think they look outstanding right there. With the black and white striped kite. Those guys were the ones that were reaching pretty darn high. Now they're starting to soak low. They probably should have split the difference. They should have been going low when it was breezy maybe, and then a little higher now. What I think they're doing now is trying to keep their air clear. And they've probably decided on the right buoy because of where they are. He needs to go a little higher now. Yeah, you want to set it up so you soak when you have pressure, and then it might look like you're headed towards the marks way back there, but you weren't. You were heading at least 8 degrees, 10 degrees high of the marks. You should have been heading 3 or 4 degrees high, splitting the difference, and then now you could be coming up. But that's okay. Oh, look at this, trapping again. And part of that is just being in the lead. But you see how high they go? They trap and try not to chain. Wow, that's cool. There you go. You don't want to get super low and have to bend your knees all the time. There she goes. She lowered herself just a little. Oh, Tommy Roto is having another good race. Up and down. Her leech telltale flies on the main, and then it stalls. Then it flies, then it stalls. When we're speed testing, that's what we're trying to mimic over and over again, where if you let it out, it flies. If you trim it in, it's too blocked, and it doesn't fly fairly. He's got little older sails. His jib's a little further out. Is that a Paige Tilson possibly winning a race? Yes. Maybe not winning, but killing it. Well, my videos are long, but look how the masts are almost straight up and down. You can heel the leeward a little. As soon as you heel the leeward a little, the wind blows up the sail, and you get weather helm. The boat tries to head up, so then you get weather helm. There's a lift going on right now. That's good for Paige Tilson. So now if you look at the starting line, I'd still finish at the other end. But if we get lifted, she just finished, if the boat end was favored, she just finishes at this end. If the boat end was favored for a start, I know I'm probably confusing you guys what I'm talking about. I look at the finish line as a start line. I would still finish at the far end, but there we go. See how their masts stay straight up. 6530's got a little leeward heel. Paige has a little leeward heel. She's going to lay the pin and win. She's going to lay the pin and win. Bonehead me. If I was sailing, I'd be in about 18th place right now. It's not the finish. This is the second beat. But this is great. The wind has gone right because I believe this woman over here was winning, and now with the variety, it looks like those two boats over there are looking extremely good. Paige is in the These boats are not lifted, so these boats are just full speed ahead. She just goes full speed ahead. She gets a little pressure, tacks, and she's right behind those two over there. So she's probably 5th right now. That is just awesome. Man. 6 knots. I would probably see some early jives. People are going to go clear their lane and then probably jive. Here comes Anton around. 5th. Yeah. I would probably go on starboard for a little while. If you get a little twist in your kite, you want the main on the other side. So if you jibe the main, that twist should come out. And he didn't need to. So he did what I would have done, which is come around, get clear, make sure we don't make any big mistakes. Seems like there's enough wind here. And then immediately figure out which jibe's closer to the mark or which side's windier. So the skipper would just look around, make sure there's nothing crazy going on. Look at the fleet over there, make sure there's no big puffs anywhere that he's gonna miss. That's what he's doing right now. And then he gets clear and he makes port tacks closer to the mark. Steers quite a ways through, all the way to just above a broad reach. Okay, great job. So the girls are a little deeper on this one. They had to do a penalty turn. They might have hit the windward mark in race on the first windward. Very good. Here is Sean and Ben beating a lot of boats. Spinnaker looks okay. Probably needs the guide back more. And we need to sail a little lower. Sean, Ben should sit right at the shroud. Want to get the bow down. Here's Loki and Zach. Sure enough, I talked to those guys at the pin end. The flag has swung to the right. And he said, it just flung to the right about 15 minutes ago. And so that upwind leg, I mean, you'd have to have a crystal ball to know it. But I'm sure some people smelled it out and stepped up to the right and started making some gainers on that. But again, that's not super easy. So since the wind went right, they're gonna make the course longer, go for a 1-lapper, and our line sight's gonna change. It may have already changed. Let me see. Yeah, he may have already the race committee boat might have already pushed himself, let himself back. Oh, look at that. Somebody's up on the bow. So what he did is he just let his anchor out in this right. I'm sure they have a, yeah, see, there's the line right there now. Okay, so we'll go around and into the race finish. They're gonna have one more race. The race committee at the other end said the max wind we've had today is under 11 knots, actually, believe it or not. And you see where the race committee boat used to be was much further forward. So you see we got a new line sight that's gonna probably be on another clump of trees, but you can see his anchor has been let out. So again, smart race committees don't even move the pin. They just change their position. So he did the same thing by moving the pin up as by letting his anchor out. I wish more people would just do that. We wait at some regattas forever while the people are down there trying to grab the pin, and all you got to do is let the anchor out, and you can accomplish the same thing. Okay, these guys are just committed to trapping, man. It's just amazing. Less than a minute to go for the last race, a 1-lapper. videoing the start. He's actually saying numbers that he thinks are sticking out. 8653. Okay, general recall. Oh, darn. Oh, darn, Anton. 8653 maybe. I wasn't on the line, so I don't know. Tried to, I don't like to tell everybody everything. I tried to tell everybody, hey, they let the race committee vote back. And the pin has been favored kind of the whole time. I wouldn't say it's very favored this time, but we had a couple people that got stuck in bad air over here near the boat. And so when they drop the committee vote in back, it probably makes it so that you maybe don't want to start at that end. So at least you have to be aware of that. Really amazing. If you look at the fleet, everybody is kind of getting coached up. There's no slouchers in this race. Like every single boat is in this race. And that's because the kids are kind of sailing well. The coaches are helping them get their sails right, helping them to adjust their starting tactics. That start was just beautiful. I can't even tell you how amazing that start was. But look, we got boats on starboard, we got boats on port. It's just amazing racing. I think the Borellis again are doing well. They might be if they get a top 15 this race, they got 4 top 15s. And that's gonna put them in 11th overall or something. And they will get a throw out, I believe. I didn't read sailing instructions. I'm not sailing, so I don't read them. Kids have to read them. Anywho, last race. First windward, leader got a wrap. That was like Kevin Cason in second. So the 29er guys have been training as 29ers for the last couple of months. It's just taking them a little while to figure it out. I think early in the day he was going too low on the trapeze. The boat was getting super flat and then it would heel and then it was super flat. He was bending his knees. Again, you kind of keep yourself higher and you move forward and aft a little. And the skipper hikes in the boat, so you don't want to lower the crew down. You want to limit the amount of motions you're making. Borelli's just rounded 5th or 6th, I don't know exactly. Wow. Just what a day for them. And everybody looks lifted. If I'm nitpicking the Borellis right now, it looks like their vang's a little tight, but you don't want to be messing with your vang too much. If you're good upwind, you don't need to change it too much. Eventually you'll have marks on things. Marks are a little hard because when you change brake and everything, marks change a little. So it's a little more complicated than just saying what marks. Okay, take this first run of the last race. There's Paige and Kristen. So Kristen's sitting right against the shroud. That way you can see both sides of the spinnaker. You can see the leeward side. If you start to lose the leeward side of your spinnaker, it means that your mainsail is blocking it. So you got to fix that. You either have to head up or you got to, but this is outstanding. The clues are level. See how the green and the red are level. The boom is out. She catches a wave. Bam, she pumps the main in. Yeah, lets the main out when she's slow. Let's see if she pumps here. Yeah, a little bit. That guy pumped a little harder than her. Wow, spinnaker trim is outstanding. Sitting right against the shroud, bowed down in the water a little. Makes it so the skipper doesn't have to sit right on the main sheet fleet. It makes it so the skipper can pump the main. They don't have to be jammed under the boom then. This has just looked outstanding. This is Loki and Zach right here. You see how the spinnaker's kind of touching the front of the jib? Oh, there it goes. Good. That'll only be temporary. If the foot is touching the front of the jib, you want to ease the sheet out more. And if the spinnaker luffs, it could be a variety of things you got to do different. But you can see that is kind of strapped in. I mean, these guys have not flown spinnakers in time. We're talking just the last 6 months for sure. But you see how it's almost touching on the foot. So he could get it flying a little higher, but this looks good. That was a nice little height. Looks fine. Compare that Zach to this. You see how far out from the front of the jib the spinnaker, the purple spinnaker is, and even Kristen's. Kristen's is closer, but the other guy's faster than her, passing her through her lead with the spinnaker flying out higher. So that's just crazy. Kristen's over trim. Like, that guy's sailing through their lead. You got to get the pull back, sheet out, get the spinnaker. I wish we could see it better. Yeah, that spinnaker's flying a little higher there behind them. Oh, there you go. Got to be careful of pushing the rudder too hard. You just jab it a little for a second. And the crew hiking out is what turns the boat down, or makes it so the boat will stay down and won't round up. But you got to be careful. These are big rudders on these pigs. We got Kevin in second over here, just behind that rib. And you'll see he's tipping over once in a while, and then they lean against it. And then you're going to look at the leader, and it is just rock solid. He's heeled the leeward a little, but his mast is just kind of rock solid. But it's close. Kevin might be winning. And they've gotten out of the trap mode. Maybe that's what they're going to say to me when they finish, is that trap mode wasn't working. That could be the deal. Yeah, that guy just tacked right on him. That is some good company right there. Wow. The master and disciple. He just tacked underneath him, bided his time, and just slowly pinching off Kevin. And he's making it so that Kevin doesn't tack away. So he doesn't want Kevin to beat him. He wants to save that point. So I don't know if he knows he's doing this, but he's doing what's called herding. Herding is just give the guy enough clear air so they don't tack away. And that way you can keep controlling them and you can make sure you save that 1 point. It might come down to that 1 point, considering now the same teams have been in the front. Okay, the Borellis are in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. So that's just an amazing day. Okay, great job.